Hello everyone, welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. So, I believe we are approaching the end of the MSQ for the first, not expansion, the base game. So, we need to decide what class are we going to finish it on. And I would love if I had another level 50, or something close to level 50. Like, I thought about pushing my summoner up, but I don't really want to wait. So, I think I'm just going to go ahead back to Dragoon. And let's go ahead and make stuff happen, you know? Wow, we have a lot of upgrades since we played this last. We don't look anywhere near as good as we did. Ah, well. Alright, so what am I doing? I need to go back to the Rising Sands. Or the Rising Stones. Let's go talk to Minfidia. We got our people here again. Everyone cleared out for a little bit so that the Ossians could come and, you know, have their little thing. So we just had a funeral for our good friend. Let's see what the next part of the story is. Have you a moment here? I believe Ida wished a word with you. I'll consider it a personal favor if you lend a sympathetic ear to her troubles. She's not been herself since Membrida's passing. My heart aches to see her so downcast. So it would not surprise me if we're going to have a bit of, you know, if not levity, at least a little bit of low tension stuff. So that, you know, as a way of cooling down from the rather, I don't know how to put it, the much more high tension action we just got through. Hey, it's Yay! Great! Oh, it's no use. I'm trying to stay positive, but it's just hard, you know? The thing is, I know Moon would tell me off if she saw me moping around like this. Which is why I decided to cheer myself up by getting her a special flower. I placed an order for a moon daisy with Rowena a little while ago, and it's ready to be picked up. The trouble is, I find Rowena a bit difficult at the best of times, and this isn't one of them. I know it's silly, but I just can't face it at the moment. Can you go collect it for me? Thank you so much. I'll be waiting for you and the daisy at Wraithfrost. I don't know what her problem is. Rowena seems like a fine person to me. What can I do for you today, adventurer? Eldritch trinket trade? Hey, they got you running errands now? Them Scions really know how to make the most of your talents, don't they? Sending the savior of Eorzea to the bleeding market. Fine use of your time, that is. Seriously, though, you best learn to say no, or they'll have you mucking out the Chocobo stables next. Anyway, what is it you were told you were here to pick up? The moon daisy, was it? Here then, take it. And tell that Ida lass I've got a wide selection of headwear in stock if she ever decides to replace that dowdy old mask of hers. God knows she needs to. Maybe she could be a little difficult. Now, we were just at Wraithfrost, so this is another one of those quests where they send you to the same location back-to-back times, just for lore. But that's okay. I forgive the game, it's not being very streamlined. In the hopes that it gets better. We've had thunderstorms all day. Sounds like we have another one brewing up. Hopefully I don't lose power. Rowena can be so annoying. She'll just not take no for an answer. Every time I visit her, she insists I replace my visor with something more fashionable. When I tell her I like it fine, just fine the way it is, she says it again, and then again, and then again. It drives me crazy. What I mean to say is I really appreciate you doing this for me. So anyway, let's see it. When Brita loved these things, you know. I hope that somewhere, somehow, she knows I'm still thinking of her.
I'll never forget you, Moon. None of us will.
The song riseth to a crescendo.
Hmm?
Is that what I think it is?
Hello, can you hear me? We have received grave tidings from Ishgard. Pray return to the Rising Stones at once.
Or maybe we're just going to keep on building tension. Let me take this off my bar before I accidentally hit it and embarrass myself in a group. Don't want to start soothing the enemy. My apologies for the interruption. I was deeply saddened to learn of Moonbreeda's passing. Her loss will be sorely felt. Alas, recent developments in Ishgard leave us little time to mourn. The envoy from Kurthis will soon arrive. We must hasten to hear her report. The envoy is here. I thank you for receiving me at such short notice. Time is of the essence, so I would forego the usual pleasantries, if I may. Certainly, you come with news of the Dravanians. The dragons have begun their attack in earnest. The first wave reached the central highlands a short while ago, and battle was joined soon after. Sir Emmerich himself sallied forth with a contingent of temple knights and several companies of the noble house's finest. Though the beasts were ultimately forced into retreat, our victory, if such it may be called, came at the cost of many of our own. Too many. We'll not withstand a second wave, should the Dravanians renew their assault. You paint a grim picture, lady. My lady, is it reinforcements you seek? We do. Though it pricks our pride, it's plain we cannot protect Ishgard with our ranks thus thinned by the Horde. Sir Emmerich would meet with you to discuss the possibility of enlisting your aid. Very well. I'll depart for Kurthis at once. I must warn you, the involvement of the Crystal Braves is by no means assured. Our commitment to quelling the unrest in Ul'dah must take precedence. It's with such contingencies in mind that I must make another request. The Scions of the Seventh Dawn are known for sharing close ties with all 3 of the Grand Companies of Eorzea. Would you consent to plead our case to their leaders? Though I'll gladly appeal to the Grand Companies on your behalf, I dare not promise a favorable reply. You need say no more. Considering our past dealings with the Eorzean Alliance, I can well imagine how our plea will be received. But the fate of Ishgard hangs in the balance. We must explore every avenue still open to us, no matter how unpromising. I see. Very well. I'll send envoys to each of the allied nations, and have them present your request directly to the heads of the Grand Companies. In the event your plea does receive a favorable answer, know that any support is certain to be conditional. Demands will be made of Ishgard. That's only to be expected. Rest assured that I speak with Sir Emmerich's authority in this matter, and that our actions are fully sanctioned by the Holy See. Which brings me to my final request, a personal appeal to you, Warrior of Light. The Lord Commander much desires to speak with you, regardless of your fellow's involvement. You faced Midgard Solmer and survived. Anything you can share of your experience may yield us an advantage over our foe. He took my blessing! Thank you. You wear the mantle of hero well. 'Twould seem the road leads us both to Camp Dragonhead. Seek me out when you arrive, yea.
The sons must answer for their father's misdeeds. Only then will the cycle be broken. Brothers and sisters of the heavens, we raise our voices and join you in the chorus. The sinner's feeble magics are undone. Come, claim your retribution.
Well, that's not good. It seems I was the swifter, yea. You too have arrived with time to spare, for our host has yet to make an experience. The murmurings about camp tell of some manner of trouble at the gates of judgment. In the Lord Commander's absence, I suggest we visit the place and find out what is afoot. The gates of judgment are much more than mere doors. They're the outermost lair of Ishgard's magical wards. If our first line of defense can be so easily shattered. When I laid eyes upon Lady Iceheart, I felt the marrow freeze within my bones. There was a knight in this type of armor, though, alongside her. Like, most of them were wearing different armor, but one of them looked like this. A traitor? Maybe? Heretic scum! How dare they meddle with our divine protections? I shall rid our nation of their blasphemy. I shall rid our nation of their blasphemy, even if it means cutting them down one by one. We need not fret overmuch. There are yet several layers of arcane protection that shield the city from invasion. Mother will be fine. It would seem the heretic struck the first and most telling blow against Ishgard. Scions, we expected you at Camp Dragonhead. My apologies. We chanced to hear there had been trouble at the gates, and thought it prudent to investigate the cause. Then you've learned of the heretic's treachery. Lady Iceheart led a force of her followers against our defenders, and came close enough to dispel the first of our wards. But let's speak of this more back at the camp. Sir Emmerich awaits. Lady Iceheart has grown bold indeed if she would risk direct action against the city. Let us do as we are bid and return to Camp Dragonhead. Lord Oshafan will know where Sir Emmerich means to receive us. There's some nice thunder. Don't know if that's being picked up by my mic or not. "'Tis reassuring indeed to behold the countenance of a friend when one's homeland teeters upon the very brink of disaster. Though a single misstep could send us plunging into the abyss, your heroic presence stokes the flames of courage within my heart. But you did not come to Dragonhead to listen to my prattling. The Lord Commander has arrived, and would treat with you in the intercessory." Oh, we actually get to walk around in here. Normally this is always a cutscene. I thank you for coming with such haste, and apologize for my absence. Suffice to say, Lady Iceheart and her heretics have much to answer for. Yes, but we are recently returned from the Gates of Judgment ourselves. Given the circumstances, we quite understand if you would prefer to postpone our appointed audience. On the contrary, Master Alphinaud, I think it more important than ever that this meeting take place. Rest assured, I'll return to my post on Ishgard's walls the moment our business is concluded. Before we move on to the subject of reinforcement, however, I would introduce you to a close friend and stalwart ally, Estinian. The Azure Dragoon himself. That's Orchafant. Oh, okay, that's... May I present to you Ishgard's Azure Dragoon. An impressive title, though I confess I know precious little of the Order of Dragoons. They are formidable warriors all, yet even among such masters of the lance, Estinian is without equal. He, out of all the warriors of Ishgard, was chosen to wield the power of dragons, and may thus contend with any Dravanian. You flatter me overmuch, Lord Commander. If ever I was without equal, I am no longer, as my fellow Azure Dragoon here will attest. Be at ease, ye. I did not come to challenge you this day. Yeah, so yeah, they do acknowledge that you did follow the Dragoon quest line. If you hadn't, I wonder what this line of dialogue would be. Well, now that we've all been introduced, let's proceed to the matter at hand. I would share with you what we have learned of Iceheart's design, as confessed by the heretics taken captive after the assault on the gates. 'Twould seem that Lady Iceheart and the Dravanian share a common goal, the reclamation of Nidog's stolen eye. Nidog, one of the 7 great worms. No, it's 8, right? It's Midgard Solmer, and he had a brood of 7, right? His name features prominently in your nation's history. Though once defeated by the hero Haldreth, the beast is said to have terrorized Cirthus since Ishgard's founding. Aye, many are the scars our walls bear from Nidog's relentless efforts to raise the city. The trophy Haldreth plucked from the bested worm's skull, known simply as the Eye, is a treasured relic of Ishgard, and one possessed of untold powers. And that guy's got it right there. It's not in Ishgard. Estinian has it. Should it ever be returned to Nidog, the dread creature would be restored to the height of his strength, and no wall or ward we could erect would be stout enough to deny him. My vengeful son hath waged war against Ishgard for 1,000 years. No mortal mind could comprehend the depths of his rancor. The eye itself is secreted deep within the vault. It's kept under heavy guard, surrounded at all times by men and women who have proven their loyalty to the Holy See. But those stout walls and sharp blades may suffice to discourage the heretics. The dragons are another matter. There are individuals within the Dravanian horde whom an entire company of knights would labor to repel, to say nothing of Nidog himself. Nor does age rob them of their strength. Through the endless march of years, the dragons endure, patient, calculating, inexorable. You must understand, these creatures do not share our perception of time. And that's especially— I don't remember how Estinian sounds. Oh well. That's especially true of the great worms, they who spend centuries in slumber, only to wake and resume their campaigns as if mere hours have passed. It has been 20 years since Nidog had last darkened our skies. 20 years for him to gather his strength and for us to bolster our defenses. And now, just as he seems primed to return, the heretics strike at the gates. You believe the Lady Iceheart is in league with the creature, then? Of that we cannot be certain. Though we know the heretics covet the eye, we have been unable to determine their plans for it. Such questions aside, we must needs address the ragged hole their mistress has seen fit to rend in Ishgard's protections. 'Tis a weakness the Dravanians are not like to leave untested. So it would seem. You have described your plight in admirable detail, Lord Commander, yet I cannot help but wonder at your candor. Why share such sensitive information with us? I shall speak plain. Ishgard has need of allies, and I would have you bolster our front lines in readiness for the coming battle against the dragons. This much I expected. Unlike our arrangement concerning the Keeper of the Lake, however, only you stand to benefit from our assistance in this matter. I fail to see why we should intervene in a conflict which concerns only Ishgard and Dravania. Alfie, don't be an ass. When the Eorzean Alliance requested Ishgard's assistance during Operation Archon, you refused us. Does it not seem grossly unjust to demand we now risk our lives in your private war? I make no attempt to defend my country's conduct. I only ask that you consider what would follow were Ishgard to fall. Having razed our city to the ground, the horde would have little cause to linger, and most would return to their lairs in Dravania. Soon thereafter, the ruins of Kurthis would be buried in snow, and the land would become the sole province of beasts and beastmen. Until the Guardian's arrival, that is. For you may be certain the Empire would not hesitate to claim Kurthis. They would not even have to draw steel. An imperial province, sharing a border with Mordona. 7 elves. Very well, we will assist you in repelling the dragons. The roar of a great worm may have shaken the firmament, but we of Eorzea will not abandon our Ishgardian brothers to face the coming horde alone. Nor did I ever think you would. Now upon the matter of the roar. Allow me, Sir Emmerich. Through the power of the Eye, I have become the vessel of Nidog's strength. His essence has stolen into my very blood. Fear not. I'm in full control of my faculties, I assure you. The Eye itself is of no relevance to this tale. It's not essential that I bear it with me, wheresoever I go. Its lingering influence does, however, allow me to hear Nidog's voice. Then the worm who roared. Was Nidog, aye. He means to hurl his horde against Danafin's collar, and shatter the remaining wards that protect the city. There can be no doubt, the worm has summoned his minions to war. That was a long scene. Okay. Though the circumstances are far from ideal, this desperate endeavor will at least provide us with an opportunity to bring the sister states of Eorzea together in common cause. Sir Emmerich was more ruthless in his negotiations than I'd anticipated. I suppose one must give no quarter when one's home is at stake. But did you see the look on his face when he formally requested our assistance? Though the Lord Commander has long campaigned for Ishgard to open its gate to outsiders, I suspect this softening of the Holy See's attitude towards foreign cooperation comes as something of a bittersweet victory. The days ahead promise to be interesting indeed. If we're to aid the Ishgardians in this war of theirs, preparations will have to be made, and soon. Before proceeding, we must needs return to the Rising Stones and make our report to the antecedent. Really? Okay. Can't we just, like, chat about it through Link Shell? Here and there, here and there, here and there. Well, that was a very long scene that was not voice acted. Hopefully we're going to get a scene that is voice acted now, to balance it. Give me a chance to have a sip or two of something.
Alphino, it is good to see you. Tell me, what have you learned?
Pray summon the others. Everyone must hear my report.
So this was all but a taste of what's to come.
Indeed. The main host advances upon Ishgard as we speak.
Whose vaunted defenses have been nullified.
Shorn of its wards, the city will bear the full force of Nidhogg's fury.
All those people.
Alphinaud is right. The Dravanians cannot be allowed to prevail. If Ishgard falls, all of Eorzea will suffer the consequences.
Then you agree that we have no choice but to intervene. For the good of the realm, the Scions of the Seventh Dawn and the Crystal Braves must join the defense of Ishgard.
Let there be no ambiguity about what has been proposed. We would be directly intervening in the war. But if all here believe the cause to be just, then to war we shall go. The path we now embark upon is perilous, but I pray you will walk with us to the end.
Yeah, I'm just some guy now, so well, I guess
For
some
those
Dakota.
we have lost, for those we can yet save.
No blessing ring.
Then it is settled. I shall inform the Council of our intentions and request that they contribute their own forces to the defense of Ishgard.
I've bid the Archons travel to their assigned nations. Should the members of the Alliance agree to pledge Grand Company's soldiers to Ishgard's cause, our comrades will be on hand to act as intermediaries for the duration of the conflict. The small matter of persuading Alliance leaders to grant such support, I leave to Alphinaud. For you, my friend, a different task awaits. I would have you reach out to your fellow adventurers and gather what allies you may for the coming siege. I would also have you consider the matter of your own security, of our own security. Revenant's Toll is but a short flight from the snowfields of Kurthus. It's not unimaginable that the fighting may spill across the border. Pray, brief Slaffborn on the brewing conflict. Discuss potential contingencies. The frontier settlers must be prepared for aught that might wing its way over our walls. I only hope that such precautions prove unnecessary. Before you leave, might I suggest you have Tataru accompany you? She has a talent for administration, and a firm grasp of the practical challenges we may encounter. We are rather close to Kurthus, aren't we? We best see to our own defenses and take stock of our supplies. And we'll also need to have beds and bandages laid out, just in case. A good receptionist is ready for any eventuality. Let's go, Ye. I have 101 things to discuss with Slackborn. I appreciate the warning. If war is coming to Kurthus, the toll must be made ready. I'll increase the number of patrols on lookouts immediately. I will also see about finding room for an infirmary, as well as temporary housing for victims of the conflict. Ishgard has done well by us in the past. I'd return the favor. But as for rounding up volunteers for the fighting itself, I'm afraid I must disappoint you. I'll not send my fellow guild members to die on Ishgardian soil, and I'm certain headquarters will say the same. There will be no official Adventurers Guild presence at the siege. That said, each adventurer is of course free to do as he or she will. I'll have word with some of our more capable colleagues on your behalf, and you might try your luck here in Revenant's Toll. There are a few stout souls about talent who will answer your call to arms. Let's get started, shall we? We have a town to rouse. Spare me your talk of glory and fame. I'm not in the habit of volunteering for lost causes. I have survived this long by trusting my instincts, and my instincts tell me to stay away from Ishgard. Interesting little interruption there. Ishgard sounds like she's in a right mess, but that ain't what I wanted to talk to you about. I need you to cast your mind back to that scuffle with the Empire out by the processing plant. A lad from Little Alamigo by the name of Wilrid was there with the Fourth that day, and I want to know if you've seen him since. Have you? God damn it, I feared as much. No one's seen him. It's like the ground opened up and swallowed him whole. But that ain't all. Around the time Wilrid stopped turning up for duty, them black marker weapons went missing from our vault in Old Dawn. So now, of course, half the Braves suspect the lad of making off with the goods. Folk like to believe our company is a disciplined fighting force, but as you and me both know, it's no more than a motley collection of mercenaries, adventurers, and Grand Company veterans. The only thing that binds us together is some vague oath about fighting for the freedom of all. That and a steady pay. Compared to most others in this crew, Wilrid's a fresh-faced novice, a bleeding whelp amongst the wolves. But the boy's got passion. When he talked about being a guardian of Eorzea, he bloody well meant it. A lad like him wouldn't rob us blind and bugger off like that. He ain't the type. And then, and this is between you and me, there's the fact that the lad wanted to tell me something queer he noticed in the ledgers. Something about the Braves' numbers not adding up. There's a villain at the end of this trail I've stumbled on, and I'll bet me good eye it ain't young Wilrid. Anyway, we've got a war to wage, so I'll let you get on. I just thought someone should know. I'll be seeing you yet. If you turn up dead, I'll know to look into it. But that's really cool. Like, that's like the first time I've ever seen one of these things where it happened on talking to one of four, you know? I wonder if we talked to one of the other ones that would have done the same. Probably not. Probably it was part of the dialogue with that one person. So Ishgard seeks soul swords to bolster its ranks, eh? Though I'm not sure I like the sound of the siege, those nobles will surely be generous with their rewards. But I have pledged myself to guard Revenant's Toll. Modest work though it is, I'm loath to break the terms of my contract. What to do, what to do. You got all quiet all of a sudden. Sell my blade to the Ishgardians. Well, them dragons are a fearsome lot, but I'd slay me fair share if the coin was good. I've worked for one of them knights before, you know. Watched me like a bloody hawk, he did. Still, I put up with worse than that for a heavy purse. Hey, we got one. Look at this thing. That's someone's mount. My goodness. The game does get creative eventually. Volunteer my services in the defense of Ishgard? I think not. Dragons claim the lives of every one of my brothers, and I do not mean to offer them mine. If it was to escape such a fate, I took up the mantle of venture in the first place. I would sooner die in the pursuit of fortune than huddled behind an icy wall. Alright, so not too many, but we got one. Excuse me. There you are. So, did you spay any hearts? 1 or 2, eh? Well, added to mine, that makes 3 or 4, not including Slashborn's friends. We won't have the largest company in the army, but I'd say 1 Revenant's Toll veteran is worth a dozen clanking knights at least. I've been so caught up with recruiting I almost forgot. There's been word from Alphanode. Apparently the Alliance leaders are convening in Ul'dah to discuss Ishgard's plight. They've requested your presence, as usual. You best make your way to Ul'dah or you'll be late. Alphanode said he'd meet you on the Royal Promenade. Can you jump off down here? You can. For some reason I was just never aware of this actually being a place, but of course it is. I just never come here. I think maybe I came here once to ask somebody sitting at that fountain about her taste in clothing. My apologies for calling you away from your tasks. I'd hoped to proceed with these negotiations 1 leader at a time. It seems my urgent requests for an audience have prompted a gathering of the council. Needless to say, I felt obliged to attend. The Alliance leaders are already seated within. Let's join them, shall we? We don't often meet here. We usually meet in, Gridania. At Nothic as well.
We are well aware of Ishgard's dilemma, and we agree with your assessment.
Then I trust there are no objections to the Crystal Braves' intervention.
Ul'dah has not.
Gridania does not object.
The Crystal Braves are yours to command, Alphino. Do what you will. We shall pray for your success.
But they're not going to help.
It was my hope that you would offer more substantial aid than prayer. I know it is within your means.
Do not presume that you have knowledge of our every concern. The Garleans and the Beast Tribes are but 2 of many. We are not in a position to contribute greatly to the defense of Ishgard. Not when our own homes are still under siege.
We dare not leave our interests in Cartano undefended as well. Telegi Adalegi and his ilk would seize control of the territories in our absence.
The enemy is at their gates, and you would cower behind yours?
No one is cowering, boy. We will offer what support we can.
Aye, support. A handful of men and no more.
Would that we could commit more than a token force to this cause. Yet there are others to whom you might turn. The free companies ever want for work.
Ah, yes. The free companies. They're not like to turn you down.
I beg your pardon? You would entrust the survival of Ishgard to sell swords? Crises like these are the very reason why this alliance was formed. It is our duty to aid our fellow man.
My duty is to my country and my people. If you expect us to place the welfare of a foreign power above our own, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Lest you doubt, Limsa comes first, then the Alliance, and finally, circumstances permitting, Ishgard and the rest. If you cannot understand so simple a concept, then you have no place at this table.
Forgive me, Admiral. I was careless in my choice of words.
I suggest you assemble a party of elite adventurers, assuming you haven't already. Your fellows served us well during Operation Archon. I dare say they will do so again. If I may, Your Grace, I wish to propose a redistribution of forces. If we entrust the security of Uldar to the Brass Blades for a time, we can dispatch a larger force to Ishgard. Your Grace?
Yes. Yes, of course. Do what you will.
Is Her Grace not feeling well?
To the best of my knowledge, Her Grace is in perfect health.
I see. Carry on.
Once again, I owe you an apology. It seems you've been conscripted into leading a contingent of adventurers on yet another mission of inestimable danger. But I fear we've been left with little alternative. We cannot well abandon Lord Oshifan and Sir Emmerich to their fate. We must abide by the Council's decision, as short-sighted as it is, and strive to fulfill our role as Eorzea's guardians. Captain Ilbert, is there news? Then the assault has begun. We've but this moment concluded our audience with the Alliance leaders. Move our forces into position. Your unit will join House Durandar at the Steel Vigil. Man the cannons alongside the knights, and thin the Dravanian horde ere they descend upon Ishgard. I'll join you as soon as I'm able. Yea, I would have you and your adventurer allies bolster the defences at the Steps of Faith. Report first to Sir Marceline at the Gates of Judgment. He'll direct you to where you are needed most. May the gods grant us victory. I'm betting this is going to be a trial, not a dungeon. You know, like a freaked rather than a full run. You're the appointed captain of the sellsword contingent. Then welcome. There's no shortage of blade work to be done. As we speak, Dravanian skirmishing parties are harrying positions across the Central Highlands. I've assigned the Crystal Braves and your fellow adventurers to contain these scattered attacks. For the present, I'd have you join them. This is, of course, merely a precursor to the assault on Ishgard proper. The wily serpents seek to divide and confuse our forces, but will not be so easily drawn out of position. The Temple Knights will remain on the steps of faith and continue our preparations. When the Horde arrives in force, they'll face a wall of Ishgardian steel. Report back once their advanced skirmishers are slain. Okay, so not yet. We have to go and fight some enemies first. It'll give me a time to brush up on my Dragoon. We haven't been one in several hours. What is our playtime, by the way? 8 days. 8 days, 5 hours. And of course, we haven't even finished most of the questing. No, we've probably done most. That's not true. But there certainly is more to do. Oops. I didn't have to talk to the survivors, just run right on. All the way up to the northeast. That's the bridge we're gonna fight on, I guess. Maybe it will be a dungeon. Like, I could definitely see, like, a sort of, you know, phase of walking down the bridge. First boss, second boss, and then right at the gates, the third boss. I could see it. Dum bum bum bum. Sorry, just a moment. That's a lot of wyverns. Someone else doing the same quest. I've forgotten how satisfying that one big hit is. Oh, I think I'm fighting their horde commander first. Whoops. That is a little confusing. Like I would not have been surprised if we couldn't even attack their targets, but instead it would also turn into a big AoE fest. I don't even know how many of the ones that were mine I got. How'd they get here ahead of me? What news, adventurer? The reinforcements? Decimated, you say? Dravanian devils, damn their skelly hides. Hold fast to your grief and fury, my lady. We'll avenge the deaths of your fellows in the battle to come. Ere you commit yourself to the siege, you should know what it is you are tasked with defending. Beyond the gates of judgment lies the steps of faith, a great bridge of stone that leads directly to the city of Ishgard. More than simply a means to cross the sea of clouds, the bridge serves as a foundation for the arcane wards that form the barrier we call Danafin's Collar. Alas, in dispelling the barrier's outermost layer, that thrice-damned witch Iceheart stripped the bridge of its protections, and thus are the dragons now able to land unhindered upon the steps of faith. Should the Dravanians succeed in destroying the remainder of their wards, the winged devils will be free to swarm within the city itself. Needless to say, we cannot suffer that to happen. It shall be our task as defenders to prevent any harm from coming to those parts of the bridge where the wards are sealed. All now rests on us, adventurer. Lead your comrades out onto the steps of faith and prepare to meet the horde. Alright, is it a dungeon or a dungeon or a trial? It's a trial. I think. No. It's not? Is it a raid? No. Did I miss it? The Steps of Faith. Oh, here it is. I just don't have access to it because my item level is too low. Well. Never mind, we're not doing this as a Dragoon. We're doing this as a Samurai. It's a big raid too. It's 2 groups. 8 people. Dum, bum, bum, bum. Yeah, we kind of have not really engaged that much in the gearing process at level 50. You know, the whole going up from eye level 50 to 110, is it? I think my best gear is 110. 115, 120, 115, 115. So from 50 to 115. Farming the raids and the level 50 dungeons, the high level dungeons. We haven't even done very many of them at all. There we go. That's a biggie. Wow. Bishop is the name of the boss. Whoa. Okay, actually, I need to stop getting hit, getting struck by it. Okay, maybe I should have been attacking that guy. Oh, I should probably be attacking the other guys, not these. Oh, we fell way behind. I thought we were behind his front legs, but we were behind his back legs. Okay. Uh-oh. Wow. There's a big guy behind us. But this guy's like almost dead. I think we should just maybe focus on him. Yeah. She always seems so delighted in those scenes. I'm gonna say the healer did a good job, because you probably did. I wasn't paying attention, but I believe it. The dragons! They're withdrawing! Victory is ours! One of Nidog's greatest champions, slain. The Horde will not soon recover from this blow. But what of you, Nidog? Why did you not join your minions and make of this battle a slaughter? Have you grown so fond of the stench of your lair? Mayhap you prefer to have your allies fight your battles for you. You have a girl to do your bidding now, do you not? No matter. I'll slay Iceheart and all the rest. But I yearn to spill the blood of a great worm, Nidog, and only your death will sate my lance. I wish I could jump like that. That'd be awesome. You'd never need to buy a ladder again. The dragons are routed. Lest you wonder, the fighting at the Steel Vigil was also fierce, but my crystal braves were not found wanting. Commander Levailleur, yea, true to your word, you arrived to aid us in our hour of need. On behalf of the Holy See and the people of Ishgard, I offer you my humble thanks. Though I would stay and lavish you with well-deserved praise, I fear I must away to oversee the aftermath of the siege. Not all the dragons are fled, and there are yet wounded to be carried from the field. Let us meet anon that I might express my thanks with proper courtesy. I too would offer my thanks, yea. Through your deeds, we have achieved a victory of singular importance. With the Dravanian horde thus weakened and scattered, the threat to Ishgard has been greatly diminished. And mayhap equally significant, the Holy See must now recognize the necessity of cooperation with foreign powers. Long have they barred their gates against the outside world, but I'm confident the day will soon come when Ishgard proclaims itself a member of the Eorzean Alliance once more. Much have we sacrificed in our struggles against dragons and primals, the Ascians and the Empire, but step by unfaltering step we march ever nearer to our goal. And as ever, the journey is made with you in the van. The victory you've won this day gives us greater hope for the morrow. 'Tis a hope that shall sustain us in the days to come, and bear us past the many evils that yet seek to hinder our progress. Yes, we've done well, my friend, and I, for one, would take a moment to savor the enormity of our achievement. The demands of duty, however, allow me little time for levity. I must accompany Captain Ilberd back to Ul'dah and reassign those braves whose squad suffered heavy losses. You, my friend, have earned a rest at the Rising Stones. Return to Revenant's Toll and share your tale with Minfilia in person. I mean, if that was supposed to be an entire war with the Dravanian Horde, I mean, it was just like a single skirmish. Most of our friends are not here. They must be still at the various cities. Or they're waiting for us in here. Nope, they must all be dispatched. Yay, welcome back! Alphanote sent word of the siege, and of course the role you played in ending it. Your deeds never cease to amaze me, eh? Thank you. You must be weary, gang, and now may very well be our only chance to. Antecedent. A messenger from Ul'dah arrived with a missive for you. The royal seal. Curious indeed. An invitation. On behalf of the Council of the Eorzean Alliance, Her Royal Majesty Nanamo Ul'Namo invites the Scions of the Seventh Dawn to attend a feast at the Royal Palace of Ul'dah in honor of Ishgard's recent victory. It would seem we're to be recognized for our part in lifting the siege, you for your valiant efforts as commander of the adventurers' contingent, and the Archons for their earnest attempts to rouse the city-states. Truly, I find it strange that the Alliance leaders should think themselves deserving of a place at such a celebration. All three refused to deploy their standing armies, preferring to send hastily assembled companies of sellswords, many of whom perished ere the siege began. Are they truly so brazen as to seek to share in the glory of your triumph? But mayhap they simply seek a pretext to meet with the Ishgardians while the mood is yet jubilant. Such an occasion will present a fine opportunity to press for Ishgard's return to the Eorzean Alliance. I'm gonna miss this outfit Minfilia is always displaying for us. It's quite enjoyable. We've scarce had time to mourn Moonbreda, and I for one am in no mood to carouse. But I suppose we must put away our grief for the good of the realm. Though you were promised rest, I fear I must insist you also attend. It would be a strange celebration indeed if the victorious hero were not present. Content yourself throughout with the thought that such occasions may bring about momentous change, and this without recourse to bloodshed. Tataru, if you would do me a favor of contacting the rest of the Scions. Of course, Antecedent. And please, let me know if there's anything else I can do. Curious. I've never known Tataru to sigh at such requests. Could not be amiss? Maybe she wants to go to the feast? Tataru is conspicuous by her absence. Hey, there's all our friends. Tataru? I believe she just stepped outside. Now that I think on it, she did seem rather preoccupied. Is that our spy? Our administrator? There she is. Oh, yay! It's you. I didn't mean to worry anyone. It's nothing, really. Well, it's not nothing exactly, but it feels like nothing compared to the towering trials you and the others face every day. And that's why I should probably talk to Menphilia before things get any worse. You always know what to say, yeah. I'm glad we had this little chat. I'm a good listener. That's my role in conversations. People, I just walk up to them and give them a stoic nod and they spill their life stories out. You know, it's terrible. I don't remember what my write down ability is. What is this? Third eye. Oh, it's a defensive cooldown. Interesting. Okay. Because I don't have much in the way of long cooldowns except for this. Yeah. Okay. And I'm trying to get that whenever I can, but it seems like it sometimes doesn't line up very well with the rest of our abilities. Yes, Tataru? You have my undivided attention. I have been hesitant to broach the subject, what with all the recent excitement, but today made me realize there's no time like the present, and time is what I'm here to ask you for. I'm not sure I understand. If you wish to be excused from your duties for a time, then you've certainly earned the rest. But I suspect lying abed is far from your intent. You know me too well, Antecedent. There is, in fact, something I've been wanting to try my hand at. Along with the adventurers and the Crystal Braves, the Scions are constantly being thrown into dangerous battles and deadly predicaments. Even Hoary Boulder and Coltonet have been promoted from guard duty to fill our need for competent warriors. And so it seemed only right that I too should acquire the power to defend myself, and others, most importantly. When I return, I shall be both your receptionist and your bodyguard. That's the first time I've almost been knocked to the ground by a Lalafell. I've never seen Miss Tataru so determined, as aught befell with which I might help as antecedent. Not a presence, thank you. Was there something else you would ask of me? Oh yes, pray excuse my distraction. An adventurer who was to join us for escort duty was injured while out on patrol. I fear we cannot properly defend the scholars entrusted to our protection without the aid of at least one more guard. Therefore, I humbly request another adventurer, of the capable kind, of course, be assigned to our party. Very well, I'll consider potential candidates and provide you with a replacement as soon as I am able. My thanks, Antecedent. I take my leave of you. So the mood of the story went from super tense to just super chill. Like, ridiculously super chill. Wait for the shock. Oh, interesting. I've got two. An unexpected ambition. The power to defend oneself. Tataru has ever been full of surprises. Tataru. Now that I think on it, I do recall Oriange mentioning she developed an interest in Arcanima. Mayhaps she hopes to gain admittance to the Arcanist Guild in Limsa the Minza? Yes, that will be the way of it. Would you be so kind as to journey to the guild and see that all is well? It's doubtless unwarranted, but surely I'm not alone in my concern for her safety. I wonder, do you perchance recall the commitment I made to furnish Hoary Boulder with a capable adventurer? I'm sorry to say I have as yet been unable to do so. I realize you are rather more than a capable adventurer, and that escort duty is beneath a woman of your talents, but I have no one else to turn to at present. Might you be willing to forgo rest and assist us in this matter? Generous to a fault, I thank you, Yang. It seems only fair I explain the import of the task in question. For some time, our order has employed a handful of scholars to travel around Eorzea, taking etheric readings, that we might better understand the impact of primal summonings. Naturally, it behooves us to ensure our employees' safety, and so we ask the adventurers in our service to serve as escorts. Hoary Boulder and Coltonet were to act as two such escorts, as was a third adventurer. But due to injury, he is not presently fit for duty, hence my need to impose upon your goodwill. You truly are a pillar of strength, Yang. Hoary Boulder will share with you the details of your task. He should be waiting for you outside. Be safe. Yay! Is it true you agreed to lend us a hand? Huzzah! What did I tell you, Coltonet? Our misfortune has become a blessing, an opportunity to serve alongside the Warrior of Light herself. Need I remind you we have 3 scholars to escort, each of whom will take a different route? True, but our mission is the same. Separated by malms we may be, but in spirit we shall be together. If such thoughts bring you a joy, you are welcome to think them. To more practical concerns, we would have you attend to the scholar charged with surveying the South Shroud. He's waiting at Camp Tranquil as we speak. All you need to do is follow the man. He'll determine the most appropriate location to take his readings. In spirit, yea. In spirit, we shall be together every step of the way. I approve. Here, let's go to Limsa first. Downstairs? Or did I just miss them? There she is! Yay, what are you doing here? I didn't mean for her to worry. That's the last thing I wanted. Putting an end to such worries is precisely the reason I'm here, don't you see? I, Tataru Taru, shall become a great and powerful arcanist. And now, at Mistress Thurbigam's behest, I must go and complete a special training exercise until we meet again. You need to go and kill 3 of one thing, 3 of another thing, and 3 of a third. I don't remember what they are here. Ah, if it isn't Yay, what brings you to the guild? So you are acquainted with our newest member. An arcanist of your experience must see that her potential is somewhat lacking. Oh, she recognizes that I'm an arcanist too. Good. I always love that. I'm always curious what the dialogue would have been, you know? Nevertheless, she would not be denied, and goes now to undertake her first trial, a simulated inspection of 3 crates. Doubtless you recall receiving similar training under Kalia's supervision. A thought occurs to me. Why not oversee Tataru's training yourself? Tataru's training. Given your relationship with the girl, and your familiarity with the task, I think you the ideal choice. You need only head to the cliffs south of Zephyrgate, as before, and observe at a distance. Ladybugs, that's it. It was ladybugs you had to kill. Or Azure seized to Pirate's Port, where she met her shining jewel. For to bring the smuggler's plan to naught came the last whom none could fool. Beat 'em with the backdraft, cut 'em with a gust, deck 'em with a downburst, go Carbuncle, go! Are those crates I spy? And this must be the true test, but we're ready for them, aren't we, Carbuncle? Carbuncle? Oh. Come back, Carbuncle, come back! I should have known you'd come, Ye. You needn't say a word. Your face says it all. I know you bore witness to my shame. Betrayed by my own Carbuncle, and left at the mercy of wild beasts. I must accept the truth. I'll never be a warrior like you or the others. I'll inform Mistress Thurbigaim of my intention to withdraw from the guild. Arcanima, like so much else, is beyond me. Oh. There sure are a lot of people in them. Ah, back so soon. How fared our fledgling arcanist? Abysmally, Mistress Thubergeim. Abysmally, as Ye will testify. I was wrong to become an arcanist. Wrong as usual. I'm completely and utterly unqualified, and I sincerely apologize for wasting your time. Tataru, if that were true, I would not have permitted you to join in the first place. We must all come to accept our limitations, lest our ambitions lead us astray. However, we must not lose sight of our strengths in the process. For example, your exceptional skill with numbers helped you to gain a solid grasp of the fundamentals of Arcanima. Were it not so, you would have struggled even to summon Carbuncle to your side. In my opinion, the Scions are truly fortunate to have such a capable and good-natured receptionist in their service. Would you not agree? You are too kind, Mr. Thubergeim. Though I could not overcome this challenge, I'll take your words to heart, and try not to be discouraged. As fetching as these garments are, I fear I shall never don them again. But I can't go back to the Rising Stones without something to show for my time away. Wait, I know what I can do. If you don't mind accompanying me a little longer? Wonderful! Then to Costa del Sol we go. It's a bit of a gamble, but I'm confident it'll pay off. Beach trip! Great outfit. That's a great outfit. Tataru always has great hats. It's like her defining trait. This is it. This is where the man at the Drowning Wench told me to look. There is a certain variety of clam which can be harvested this time of year in Bloodshore, one which produces the most marvelous pearls. These clams are also coveted by certain wild creatures, and since I fared rather poorly in battle last time, well, let's be off. What fortune! I've already found one! Would you be so kind as to keep watch while I work? This should only take a moment. Hello. Just a random sea serpent. This is actually kind of hard. It's not trivial. It was more dangerous than those Dravanian patrols. Well fought, yea, well fought! I knew I was right to ask you to come. As for me, I have my prize, a bounty of blood pearls! So named for their reddish hue, they were treasured as wards against dark magics in ancient times. I thought I might make charms for everyone, so that no matter where they go, they'll always come home. It's sort of the power to defend myself and other people, in a way. Right, well, I mustn't keep Philemon waiting. There's work to be done, and lots of it. We're to secure provisions for the scions and the lemons in the markets. She may have an eye for quality, but I have a nose for bargains. Will you be heading back to the Rising Stones? If so, pray convey my apologies to the antecedent. Tell her she needn't worry about me. Very well, yea. Thank you for everything. That sounded rather final, didn't it? How about until we meet again? Alright. At last, the Scion's woman deigns to grace me with her presence. I pity we have no time for pleasantries. Our first destination is Issamhar. Come, we're late enough as it is. So this guy's gonna act as an ass to me the entire time, I'm sure. As his thing. Yes, this location should suffice. Once I finish calibrating my instruments, I'll require but a moment to take the necessary measurements. I trust I need not explain that my work can suffer no interruptions. Then please stand at an appropriate distance and keep watch for wild beasts. I see we both completed our respective tasks. A most satisfactory outcome. Though if I could make one suggestion, we might try to dispatch your foes more quietly in future. I do not like to pick fault, but I really must be allowed to concentrate. Now then, Snake Molt awaits, shall we? You know, it's terrible. Can I see which one of these are which? I don't know the names. Getsu. That's that one, right? So this one's that. Hey, wait a minute. Let me just... kill some random deer. So that one's the top one. Okay. And that's the right one. So I have them like completely backwards on my bar to where they actually land on the screen. Because this one on the right is this one here. The one that's down is the top one. The one that's up and left is the one on the bottom right. But In terms of the abilities they grant, this one's the damage dealt, this one is the speed, and this one is the one that doesn't have a third follow-up. That just makes more sense to me. Anyway. But I gotta keep that in mind, that right now, if I want to get the moon, I need to fill up, I need to do the right combo to get to. Right about here. Yes, as before, I would ask you to keep an eye out for dangerous beasts as I work. Fascinating. These readings are not at all what I expected. Though perhaps that should come as no surprise. I'm not given to superstition, but there is a queer, almost blasphemous air hereabouts. Let's quit this place and return to Roots Lake. We have one more site. Is this rock special? It's got like a... It's got an hourglass on it. Or something. Don't suppose this has anything to do with a wheel of elements? No. Still have no idea what to do with that. So is this one big tree that's fallen over? Or is that what this is? Like in front of me? It kind of looks like it. What dungeon is that? The Lost City of Amptor? Anyway. As before, my guardian, leave me to my task and ensure our safety. This data should prove invaluable too. Ishgard, what's that stench? Did you slaughter a creep of adamantoises while my back was turned? Quickly now, to Camp Tranquil. I'll not have my clothing reeking of blood and offal. Offal? I've never actually said that word aloud. Awful, oval, awful. You chose to paddle in the Iker a while longer, I take it. No matter, I took advantage of my unexpected privacy and performed a cursory analysis of my data. It would appear there's been a measurable decrease in Eorzea's ambient ether concentration since the calamity. This data is far from inconclusive. We must take additional measurements to confirm my assessment. For our next survey, I would have you escort me to Earth's font. The ambient ether concentrations there are so high, the crystalline structures form spontaneously. Consequently, anomalous fluctuation should be much easier to detect. Brilliant, yes? No, don't bother answering. That was rhetorical. Now come along. You know, there's nothing wrong with being a minion. I mean, this game's kind of like, you know, it's making a joke about it, about how this guy's the boss and we're just the humble assistants and all that. But most of us go through lives as minions. I'm a minion. I work for my boss. I'd rather be considered the trusted minion than, you know, some unknown party that no one knows what they're capable of or someone. Because they're just independent. I don't know. Nothing's wrong with being a minion. I'm gonna stand by that. You're not gonna catch up, are you? No. Come on. Leash. There you go. You should be more familiar with the procedure by now. Find a suitable position from which to keep watch while I take measurements. Yes, quite high. It's still markedly lower than the historical measurements taken near the end of the 6th astral era. Could the presence of a primal account for the difference? Or something else? Something else. Dude's walking away from me. Something else. Scion, come here, I need you. Oh, that's Wilred, isn't it? Fear not, my friends, help has arrived. There you are. Hori and I were worried when you and your charge failed to return at the appointed hour. Gutted like a hog, but not by one, no. These wounds were made with a blade. Doesn't look like he put up much of a fight either. Nary a mark on his sword or shield. I've heard nothing of any Crystal Brave operations in the area. What cause had Wilred to come here? What should we do? We'll see to the Scholar's protection yet. And the boy's remains. You should return to the Rising Stones. The antecedent will want to know what happened to you. Well, no, Alpha knows shit. He's the commander of the Braves. And so do I. Welp, everyone feeling that levity? Because I think the game is about to hit us hard. Welcome home, Ye. I gather you found Tataru in Limbs of the Minza. It sounds as though she had quite an adventure. While it did not end as she'd hoped, I suspect it will prove to be a valuable experience. I dare say she could have managed without our intervention. Even so, I appreciate you indulging my request. Yay, you're returned. You seem troubled. Did the role of escort chafe so? Wilbred? Dead? Maybe murdered? By the 12, how can that be? I will send word to Alphinote at once. He'll want to conduct a full investigation and send word to Wilbred's family. God, he was just a boy. Who would do this? And why? Though recent events weigh heavily on our minds, we must needs set them aside for now. We're come to a defining moment in Eorzean history. The grand commemoration of our joint defense of Ishgard, the first time in 15 long years that our people have stood side by side with our neighbors to the north, to fight in common cause. This may mark the true rebirth of the Eorzean alliance. Failing that, it should at the very least serve to bring our nations closer together. We have every reason to raise our voices in celebration, do we not? We've bested Dravanians and Asians both. Against desperate odds, we fought and won. But the primals still plague us. The Empire still plots our subjugation. And our triumphs, remarkable though they are, were bought at a terrible price. Brave adventurers and allies broken on the steps of faith, and before our eyes in this very room, our dear friend Membrita. This is the victory we've wrought, and its bitter ashes in my mouth. I would sooner stay here and invite those with more appetite to enjoy the feast in my stead. Alas, it's a royal banquet, and all of our allies will be in attendance. It's our duty to present a united front, that we might serve as a beacon of hope to all. It seems I have no choice but to take my own advice. I instructed the others to meet us in Old Dawn, that we might make our grand entrance together. Unfortunately, I had to settle for leaving Tataru and Lamin a note. If they do not return quickly, they'll have to settle for whatever leftovers I can smuggle out of the fragrant chamber. Off to the big soiree, eh? Raise a glass for me, eh? Or not? You don't look best pleased, lass. Something on your mind? By the Navigator, Wilward's dead? God damn it, they must know they've been rumbled. I mean, sod it. Just past time we had this talk. After our last conversation, I got to thinking about where certain funds were coming from. So I had to dig around on the quiet, like, and sure enough, I found it. Seems a fair bit of coins made its way into the Braves' coffers courtesy of a Dodo Consortium. A daft name for a business if I ever heard one, which is what first gave me an inkling something weren't right. I went through the ledgers again and found another half-dozen donations from organizations with stupid bloody names. Didn't take long to find the common thread. All were owned by the Mirage Trust. I'll give the bastard credit. He showed us up for the amateurs we are. Short of calling one of his businesses the bloody bribery consortium, I don't know what more he could have done to mock our rules on financial contributions. The gods only know how many men of the first and third are taking Telegi's coin. But now we know as some of them are, and I wager my right eye they're the ones what did for Wilbert. The earnest young fool had taken to asking the wrong kind of questions. Bound to attract attention he was. Should have seen at the time, but I didn't, gods damn me. I don't see what Telegi hopes to accomplish. He hid his schemes with all the care of a drunk pissing into the wind. No, he's cleverer than this, so we need to be clever too. That's the only way we'll ever repay this debt of blood. We'll purge every one of them traitorous bastards from our ranks. On that you have my word. And yea, mind yourself when you're in Odai. We're heading into a storm. I can smell it. The kind what'll sweep a man overboard and drag him under before he knows it. Empty. Nobody here. Just a moment. Alright. I'd hoped we might make our introductions together, but Mistress Mamodi just sent word you're needed at the quicksand. If I did not know better, I'd think our bard had run afoul of another jilted lover. Our bard? You mean Thancred? Is that? No, just my imagination. Pay no attention to me, 'tis a habit from my misspent youth, looking over my shoulder from time to time. Food, then dancing, or dancing, then food, or food, then dancing, then more food? Wait. You've arrived at a vista. Vista? I don't do anything. How do I do that? It's... So it would be... Ulda. You stand upon the 3 plates of silver depicting the first 3 of our kind. Come morning. It's in the evening. Okay, so it's not going to work because we have the wrong time of day. But hey, now we know there's a vista right here. We'll have to find the right... We'll have to get it at some point. I'm sure we'll be back again. Let's talk to Papa Lima. We hadn't done that yet. I do hope Ida is not under the impression we're here to make merry. We're ostensibly the antecedent's escort, after all. We'll go on ahead, yea. Pray join us once matters at the quicksand are resolved. Give my regards to Mamodi. Let her know I'll call upon her anon. I appreciate you dropping in on such short notice, Ye. I know you've got places to be, so I won't waste your time. You're friends with a Crystal Brave by the name of Alian, aren't you? Former adventurer? Come to think of it, I'm pretty sure you recruited her yourself. She came round for a meal not long ago, and before she left, she asked me to give you a message. Said if others ended up dragging you to the feast, I was to see you got it before you made your grand entrance. Meet me at the station west of the Coffer and Coffin. There's something I must show you. A short message, I'll grant you, but she thought long and hard before picking those words. Barely touched her food, too. Under other circumstances, I'd have thought those signs of a troubled heart, but something tells me she ain't planning to ask your thoughts on a gentleman caller. God, it's been a long time since the Coffin and Coffer. As you stand upon the platform, your thoughts begin to wander, and all too soon the ghosts of comrades lost and enemies slain begin to file by your mind's eye in solemn procession. Clearing your head, you scan the horizon, but see no sign of Alian. Interesting. Don't get those little dialogues very often. Straining your ears to listen, you hear the chatter of Kikirn and the buzzing of syrphids, but no approaching footfall. Sighing, you bow your head, only to notice the vial lying at your feet. Is that you? What brings you out this way? Lieutenant Alian. But no, I haven't seen her about. Had she come this way, I guarantee we'd have crossed paths. I must have passed this spot a dozen times. We're to patrol the city's environs on account of the royal banquet. Captain's orders, you understand. Speaking of which, isn't it about to begin? You should be with the other honored guests, enjoying your well-deserved respite. Pray return to Uldaye. If I chance to meet the lieutenant, I'll tell her you were here. So we know some of the Crystal Braves are bad. Was Alian bad, or is Laurentius bad? I'm thinking Laurentius is bad.
O Sultan Tree, hallowed spirit of my line. Through my weakness, the glorious house of Ul has all but disappeared beneath the sands. For want of the strength to raise it up again, it were better that it fall. Forgive me, but I know not what else to do.
I reckon you'd head straight to the feast after meeting with Alianne. What's the matter? No appetite? I found this vial. So she wasn't there, but this was. Let's see. Looks to me like an alchemist vial, but beyond that I can't say. Might be best if you hold on to it for safekeeping then. Any road, no use worrying about Alianne. I'm sure she'll turn up before too long. When she does, we'll soon find out what this was all about, innate of. Besides, you've got more important things to think about. Would you believe that while you were away, another message arrived for you? Well, one did. One delivered by the Sultana's handmaiden, no less. Her Grace desires a private audience. Her handmaiden will meet you on the royal promenade and escort you to the Sultana's chambers. So what are you waiting for? Go on then.
You needn't trouble yourself so. Your Grace is most kind, but it is no trouble to me, rather an honor. If your Grace is ready, I shall summon the Warrior of Light. I am.
Hey. Okay.
Everyone looks to be in high spirits.
With good cause.
A common victory may serve to unite even the most unlikely of allies. You've brought us one step closer to a united Eorzea.
Your modesty knows no bounds, Antecedent. Were it not for your efforts, Sir Emmerich would never have become such a steadfast ally. When he convinces his countrymen to rejoin the Alliance, we shall all reap the benefits, military and economic. I tell you, we are on the cusp of a new era of unity and prosperity. Territorial disputes are all that divide us now. But I have faith that we will find an amicable solution in time. And failing that, I'll have my trusty Warrior of Light box the ears of all concerned. Speaking of whom...
She will be joining us shortly. A matter at the quicksand required her attention, but it did not sound serious.
Lots of people watching stuff. Thank you for coming, madam. Her Grace is most eager to speak with you. If you require a moment to compose yourself before your audience, you may have it. or if you're ready, it'd be my honor to escort you to Her Grace's chambers forthwith. Upon proceeding to the Sultana's bedchamber, several cutscenes will play in sequence. It's recommended you set aside sufficient time to view these cutscenes in their entirety. Well, I guess I'm gonna go away for 40 minutes and just all watch this together.
Enter. Your Grace, your guest has arrived. Pray, come in, and take your ease.
"'Tis well that the steps of faith held against the Horde."
And what of the city proper?
We sustained some few losses, but the heart of our nation yet beats with vigor. I am not certain I could say the same had we not received your most generous aid.
An attack on Ishgard is an attack on the realm. We stand together or fall divided.
Such noble words after the fact.
I had hoped to speak in the presence of Her Grace, but it seems she has been delayed. That being the case, now would seem as good a time as any. Honored friends, pray allow me to convey Ishgard's warmest gratitude for your part in the defense of our lands. "'Tis upon the success of this very alliance that my recommendation to throw open the gates of judgment shall be founded. With the blessing of the Archbishop, it is my hope that Ishgard will soon be reunited with her long-estranged sister nations, and that Eorzea shall once more be as one."
Very well.
Is aught amiss?
Nothing to worry about. I shall return anon. You wished a word, Yu Hase?
You may go. Your Grace. You must be curious as to the reason for this private audience. The matter I would discuss, however, will soon make apparent the need for discretion. I intend to abdicate the throne and dissolve the monarchy. You have seen for yourself the storm of turmoil that howls through our streets. The government fails in its responsibilities, and my subjects suffer the consequences of our incompetence. But I will see them suffer no longer. The victory feast shall provide the stage on which I declare the dissolution of the Sultanate. 'Tis mine intent that the ruling class of our golden city should take its place beside the common man in a fair and equitable republic. No more shall this nation bow to the whims of a privileged few. Yet, that which I propose will entail the tearing up of this city's very foundations. And even Roban, with all his strength and influence, will be hard-pressed to keep his footing on such treacherous ground. Thus would I ask you to lend him a steadying hand. You who have endured the wrath of innumerable foes are the one hero in whom I can place my trust. Will you do this thing for me? I am truly grateful. More grateful than I can well express. How much we have both changed since that day we met beneath the Sultan tree. And the days ahead promise to change us further still. I hope that we will recognize ourselves when all of this is over.
Your Grace! Her Grace, the Sultana, is dead. Poison in her wine? You did this!
Spare us your denials! I see no other suspects, and the room has but the one entrance. I hereby accuse you of regicide. Men, arrest this viper.
Sir, barring a few exceptions, we have detained all those with allegiance to the Scions. The Rising Stones is also under our control.
And what do you hope to achieve with this mutiny?
Why, that which we have striven for all along, Commander. The salvation of Eorzea.
What is the meaning of this?
Knights from the homeland. This cannot bode well.
Lord Commander, we have received an urgent message from the Holy See. I am grieved to report that your serpentine foes have resumed their assault. Needless to say, your presence is urgently required. These knights have come to bear you swiftly home to Ishgard.
A surprise attack?
We've had no such word from our men, and the timing is most fortuitous to catch us away from the city.
Most fortuitous indeed.
Lord Commander, we must away!
You have been a most gracious host. I hope that I might one day return the favor. Come, Lucia.
Whatever is going on in there? Ah, the ever-dutiful brass blades. I must apologize, but my dance card is rather full. Another time, perhaps?
Thancred, of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. You stand accused of committing acts of espionage in service to the Garlean Empire.
Espionage? What in the seven hells are you talking about? Ah, if you're referring to that business with the Ultima weapon, then you must understand, I wasn't myself.
Under interrogation, an Imperial prisoner revealed your involvement in numerous dealings with the enemy. We've also been investigating reports that you are a practitioner of forbidden arts. You'd best come along with us.
You invite me to your party and now you want me to leave? I do so detest receiving mixed signals. Come then. I believe I've lost my appetite for this farce of a celebration.
You go too far, Lord Adeleji. By what right do you march armed soldiers into a royal banquet and eject state visitors without Her Grace's consent? You treat the brass blades as your personal army and show contempt for the throne with your every act. Leave us, now.
Is that an order, General? Mayhap you have mistaken me for one of your flames. You will find I am not so slavishly obedient. And you lecture me on personal armies. As for your outrageous claim that I have shown contempt for the throne, let all here observe that it was not I who feasted while an assassin removed its occupant. I expect this is your idea of defending the nation, is it? This and diluting our forces through these distractions in Cartano and Kurthis. I do begin to see how the ranks of the Immortal Flames came to be riddled with Garlean sympathizers. You are plainly unfit for command.
Wait, goddamn you. Your words make no sense. What assassin?
You mean to say you don't know? We caught the vaunted champion of the Scions in her Grace's private chambers, not moments after the deed was done.
No! No, this cannot be!
Save your breath. You will need it to plead your case. You and your entire order are to be tried for this atrocity. Bring in the prisoner!
This woman stands accused of poisoning Her Royal Majesty Nanamu Ul Namo, and as suspected accessories to the crime, all members of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn will be detained for questioning.
This is madness!
What a pity. Who'd have thought your tale would end like this?
Should you demand further proof, a vial with traces of the substance used to poison Her Grace was found upon the assassin's person.
How very convenient.
You speak of convenience? Who persuaded Her Grace to host this celebration? A diversion which presented you and your confederates ample opportunity to commit the crime, and a crowd within which to fade from view. A more convenient occasion I could scarcely imagine.
How dare you! After all we have done for Uldar!
Hold your tongue, witch! I'll not be ensorcelled! I know all about the dark gift that you and your disciples wield. Oh, yes. I've observed how you worked upon the minds of the Alliance leaders, bending them to your will. And what of your cordial relationship with Sir Emmerich? For years, Ishgard abjured all contact with the outside world, and now the Lord Commander of the Temple Knights treats you with the familiarity of a childhood friend. I'll tell you what I think. I think this desperate defense of Ishgard was but a ruse to deceive us into dividing our forces. Your next move will be to charm your Kurthan allies into invading our lands. Now that is truly ridiculous.
How do you even think of this stuff?
She cannot be dead. Stand aside, Ilbert. I want to see the Sultana.
Spare yourself the pain, brother. I saw her with my own eyes. For a mercy, the poison took her swiftly. Her handmaiden can attest to that.
This cannot be. Nanamu. No!
Plainly, the Royalists can no longer be relied upon to keep our nation safe. And so it falls to the monitorists of the Syndicate to govern Uldar. But should you wish to help us, General, we would be more than happy to entrust the task of planning Her Grace's funeral to you. It seems only right that you should bury your precious Sultana, and we will be glad to be rid of that burden.
I'll bet you will. You more than any man.
Whatever do you mean?
I mean you had her killed, you black-hearted bastard!
What rot! Though I did have sufficient motive, 'tis true. That young lady caused me no end of grief. She always was a most unwilling puppet. I dare say Her Grace was grateful that someone thought to cut her strings.
You would mock her, then mock her from hell!
What?
Have you lost your mind, General? It is forbidden to draw steel in the royal chambers, much less slaughter our fellow Syndicate members. You're one of them! You've been in league with the Scions all along!
You're next, you scheming bastard!
Raban!
Seven hells!
Admiral, we must leave.
Ah!
How unlike you, old friend. I did not expect to take your arm so easily.
Take the Scions into custody. They have conspired to commit regicide. And arrest this traitor as well.
Ilbert, I hope you choke on their coin.
'Tis better than the dirt I've supped on these long years. We can't all abandon Alamigo and become great war heroes as you have. You are not the man you once were, Raban. Since that girl strapped the yoke around your neck, you've become docile. She took the mad bull and cut off his balls, and a bull that cannot rot is fit for naught but slaughter. Shall I tell you who really killed your precious Sultana? It was me.
You'll die! I never doubted you, not for a moment. But there is more to this than I yet understand. Flee this place. Clear your names. Find out who is behind this plot. It is the only way. Now go!
Ah, there you are.
Thancred! Where have you been?
Avoiding the fumbling advances of some very persistent admirers. When I realized the celebrations had turned sour, it seemed prudent to slip away and take stock of the situation. 'Twould appear that much of the city is already under tight guard. It occurs to me that expanding the Brass Blade's authority may not have been such a wonderful idea after all.
The success of this plan was contingent upon those thugs having the run of the place. Just how long has this scheme been in motion?
The careful preparations, the maneuvering of forces. I am inclined to agree with the General's insistence that a deeper plot exists here.
So, would I be right in thinking we now have an excuse to pummel as many brass blades as we like?
Unless you plan on pummeling them all, I'm not sure that will greatly aid our cause.
The Sultana's assassination was but one part of the scheme. We too were its targets. And though we did not share Pornonimo's fate, we are yet hobbled by the charges laid at our door. Where now might we seek refuge?
Where indeed, we may safely assume that our foe is thought to have the Rising Stones watched.
Forgive me for stating the obvious, but our choice of destination will matter little if we cannot secure an escape route out of Ulda. Happily, I believe I can provide one. Papashan once told me about the passages hidden in the walls of the palace. If I recall correctly, the fireplace in Animo's chambers conceals the entrance to a tunnel. It should lead outside the city and allow us to avoid any messy confrontations.
The rest of you go on ahead. I'll handle this lot.
By yourself? I suppose I shall just have to join you.
Crystal Braves too, huh? Now this should be interesting.
Ida! Papalimo!
We will hold our pursuers here. Hurry, now! Find this tunnel of Thancred's.
Minfilia, we cannot linger.
Now look what you've done!
Ida, are you all right? There are just too many of them.
I'm fine. I could do this all day. How about you?
Nearing the end of my tether.
This is so stupid! We're the Scions of the Seventh Dawn! The ones who stand between this realm and the evil that's trying to destroy it!
And if you think we'll leave the stewardship of Eorzea to the likes of your masters, then you're sorely mistaken!
Sorry I dragged you into this, Papalymo.
'Tis hardly the first time, and I'll be damned if it will be the last. Let them have it, Ida!
I was hoping you'd say that. I never knew such a watercourse existed beneath Uldar.
The architecture is of the Sildine style, if I'm not mistaken. The ancients plainly foresaw the need for a ready means of escape.
This way!
Well, that didn't take long. It seems these tunnels were not as secret as I'd hoped.
You two go on ahead. Thancred and I will deal with this.
What do you mean to do?
Only that which is required to ensure that the dawn's light survive to brighten the morrow.
Fear not, antecedent. You haven't seen the last of these fair features.
My friends.
Leave us!
What is the plan, milady? Shall I take the dozen on the left and you the dozen on the right? The odds are not exactly stacked in our favor.
Numbers will count for little when I bring the tunnel down upon their heads. Though I cannot say I relish the thought of being entombed with you for all eternity.
You wound me. I will have you know that many a maid would kill for the chance to spend forever at my side. Now, may I have the last dance? Well, this is going splendidly. Now would be a good time, milady!
'Tis done! Forgive me, Mitra.
Farewell, Nymphilia.
Hydaelyn, she speaks to me. No! I must remain behind, but you cannot stay with me. Please, you must go on. You are the warrior of light. You are hope for the Scions and for all the realm. As long as your flame continues to burn, the light of the dawn may ever be relit. You must escape and save Eorzea from those who would plunge it into darkness. 'Tis the only way.
I am glad to see you safe, my friend. What of the others? Damn that man! Teleji played me for a fool! I thought the Crystal Brave's mine till the very moment I felt the blade at my back.
There will be ample time for soul-searching later. For now, we must put some arms between us and Ul'dah.
Well, would you look who it is? Need a ride? I doubt it'll be half as exciting as the last trip we took. Not if I have anything to say about it anyway. Let's not dawdle, eh? All aboard! I was stocking up on supplies over in Vesper Bay, you see, when your sister come up and begged a favour. Said her brother was having some trouble down in Uldar, and likely needed a helping hand getting away. Thinking them ruins would make a fine hiding place, I decided to try there first. And lo and behold, there you were. Aye, and judging by them soldiers as were pouring out of the city, I arrived not a moment too soon. Ha! Must have been fate that we happened to find you there, though, eh?
I had thought to look out for Alize, but would appear she was the one watching over me. I've made such a mess of things.
And who might you be, young sir?
Pippin Taropin, Vice Marshal of the Immortal Flames. I had been on the Alamegan front these past few moons, but an urgent communication called me back to Uldar. Scarce had my boots touched the cobbles, though, when the streets erupted with cries of assassination. I immediately went in search of answers, and came across my... The blame plainly lies with the Monitarists. Their greed and corruption are well known to me, but for them to take advantage of the situation with such alacrity...
Was that Pippin, you said? Ain't that the name of General Aldin's lad?
Yes, I am his son. Adopted, of course. 'Twas only as we were leaving Uldar that I learned of father's fate. Once I have seen you a safe distance away, I mean to return to the city and extricate him from this madness.
Then you needn't travel no further than Blackbrush. Our fugitives have a friend waiting for them there.
I dreamed of bringing about Eorzea's salvation, but in the end, 'twas I who needed saving.
That was a long set of cutscenes. Okay. Them soldiers will be searching for a while yet. Reckon we'll take the carriage back towards Uldar and get into the lay of the land. Maybe provide a distraction if need be. You three await here. Help will be along shortly. Stay strong, friends. The real fight's to come. Alright, let's go. The most unassuming folk can prove to be our greatest allies. That fellow was but a passing merchant, yet he lent us aid without a moment's hesitation, or any hint of concern for his own safety. Though I can well imagine how a man can feel inspired to risk all in your presence. Father spoke of you often, yea, and long have I looked forward to our first meeting. Needless to say, this is not at all how I envisioned it. Master Alphinaud, you must not give in to despair. That would only play into our enemy's hands. So long as you and Ye are free, we may still set things aright. Forgive me, Marshal Tarapan, but Alphinaud, my boy, sorry to keep you waiting. Sid, what are you doing here? Pulling you out of the fire, as usual. Your merchant friend told me everything. Truly, then he's no merchant, but an angel in peddler's clothing. But tell us, how do you intend to bear our friends to safety? I hid the Enterprise but a short distance away. All I need is a destination. We must find a place beyond the reach of both the Monitorists and the Crystal Braves. Kurthus, Ishgard will not suffer the intrusion of foreign forces in their territory. That settles it. With me, everyone. Not I fear. I must remain here. I dare not abandon Ul'dah to the Monitorists and their cronies. You may be certain that they will seek to defame you, both here and in the other city-states, but know that I shall do my utmost to thwart their every effort. Frankly, I do not expect it to be much of a challenge. The small folk will not turn so easily on the Warrior of Light and our allies, no matter what the Monitorists claim. Marshal Tarapan, I know not what to say. Now that Father would labor to believe. But enough talk. You must go, Master Alphinaud. Your airship awaits. Up, up! There's no rest for the righteous. We should make for Camp Dragonhead and speak with Lord Oshafon. Mayhap he'll know what to do. Master Alphinaud told me your tale, yea. It warms my heart you should turn to me before all others, and I'll endeavor to deserve your trust. Alas, the situation here is growing more complicated in your absence. It would be best if I explained in full. There it is, before the dawn. The thing that they've been teasing us with every time we completed a quest chain.
There has been word from the capital. Ishgard has weathered another assault, and 'tis said several wyverns broke through into the city proper. The Temple Knights succeeded in slaying the beasts, but the intrusion prompted orders to further strengthen the guard, and to place the city under a perpetual state of alert. How keenly we feel the loss of our wards at the gates of judgment. Yet we must not bemoan our misfortune. Sir Emmerich is safely returned from Ul'dah, and once more leads the defense of Ishgard. As for the matter of your asylum, I am afraid no progress will be made until the threat to our nation is diminished. But do not despair. You are not without allies. You are more than welcome to shelter here for as long as you wish. Pray, think of it as a new headquarters of sorts. The Falling Snows, or some such. All frivolity aside, any who come here in search of you will receive no aid from House Forton. For once, the Ishgardian reputation for inhospitality shall work in our favor. Agents of Ul'dah will find their every inquiry dismissed, and their every request for entry rebuffed, until such time as their masters have acknowledged your innocence. You once fought to preserve the honor of my dear friend. 'Tis a blessing that I may now repay that debt in kind. But let us dwell no more on this. Pray, join the rest of your companions. 'Tis bitterly cold this day. I suspect there are those who might welcome the warmth your presence brings.
Upon proceeding to the intercessory, several cutscenes will play in sequence. Again! Wow, okay. Well, we're already 3 hours. Hopefully we can finish in less than 4. I'm gonna go ahead and continue. Before the dawn completed. Alphino! Yay! Is it really you? I'm so happy that you are... I tried contacting Manfili and the others, but no one would respond. And then the Crystal Braves, our own people, turned on us in the marketplace. Philemon told me to run, and I did. I ran and I ran until my lungs burned and my feet ached. But I lost my way, and then... Fortunately, I'd observed some of the Braves behaving suspiciously beforehand. Ah, yes, my mask. It was lost in the struggle. Pretty, isn't she? Anyway, after Yugiri found me, we traveled to Vesper Bay and met up with Urianger. When we told him what had happened, he used magics to weave a glamour around the waking sands. From the outside, our old headquarters now looks like an abandoned storehouse. The transformation didn't take long either. Apparently, Urianger started making preparations after the Imperial attack, just in case the Empire ever chose to pay us another visit. Good thinking, eh? Sorry, where was I? Oh yes, so we waited there at the Waking Sands, hoping others would come, but no one else did. My people are searching for the other Scions, even as we speak. but we have met with no success as yet. I'd hoped you might be able to suggest further places to look. But you should know, the Rising Stones did not share the Waking Sands' good fortune. Only Crystal Braves await you there. Be that as it may, we've yet cause to hope, do we not? If the two of you escaped, it's not impossible the others could have done so as well. You may have been more forsaken by men and women believed true, but rest assured, the people of Doma yet stand with you. We welcome this opportunity to repay our debts, and shall continue our efforts to locate the others, and see the Scions restored to their rightful place of honor.
"'Tis all my doing. I believed myself the only one who truly understood Eorzea's woes, and look what that arrogance has wrought. I gave commands, influenced governments with my certainty. I treated the Crystal Braves, and even the Scions themselves, as pawns in my great scheme to save the realm. But in my headlong rush into imagined glory, I paid no heed to the ground upon which I trod. The salvation of Eorzea. What was it that I hoped to achieve? Did I believe that I could rid the realm of every danger and difficulty? That I could defeat the Empire and the Ascians, and find homes for every refugee? Oh, yes. I was so very clever. Become a guardian of Eorzea, I implored, and sat back to watch my perfect army cleanse the land of chaos. It was all but a means to feed my own vanity. Only when all is lost do I finally realize the truth.
Oh, Alphino.
So, Master Alphino, are you content to remain a broken blade? Is there no flame hot enough to reforge you? What of the fine companions who yet stand at your side? I dare say the fires of their determination will soon have you slicing the air again with your customary wit.
I hardly deserve such friendship. And besides, where are we to go?
Alphino, if I may? Should this place not serve our purpose, then we shall go to Ishgard. Minfilia told me many times, as long as we stand fast against despair, the beacon of hope will never be lost to sight. Be it in the snow or in the clouds, we few will see that the dawn's light shines again.
You are right, Tataru. Thank you. And thank you for your kind words, Lord Orchefon. 'Tis true that Eorzea yet has her guardians. The Scions have achieved much, and 'twould be remiss of me to discard it all in a fit of self-pity. Let us then resume our journey, together, one step at a time.
Shining is the land's light of justice. Ever flows the land's well of purpose. Walk free, walk free, walk free. Believe the lamb's alive. So believe. Now open your eyes while our plight is repeated. Still deaf to our cries, lost in hope we lie defeated. Our souls have been torn and our bodies forsaken, bearing sins of the past, for our future is taken. Born of strife, these trials dissuade us not. Words without sound, these lies betray our thoughts. Mind by a plague of devil and cheat lords. Judgment binds all we hold to a memory of scorn. Tell us why, given life, we are meant to die. Help us in our All has been arranged as you desired, my lord.
Nabrialis is no more. The ardor was not his to invoke. His demise was of his own making. Nevertheless, it concerns me. They have extinguished that which should rightly be eternal. Mayhap he was not wholly mistaken. Greater haste may be warranted. We are of one mind. The northern lands, then? The earth is fertile, and the seeds well sown. By my will they shall reap salvation, unlike any the world has known. By his will. By his will. I have answered thy summons, emissary. Speak and make thine intent known. I would speak of fate, Archon. Yours, mine, the fate of this very star.
Thou thinkest sanctuary lieth beyond. Delusion, despair, death. Thou shalt find naught else here.
There we go. A Realm Reborn, well, not quite complete, but the main parts of the story are done. We'll proceed into Ishgard, and then probably take a break.
The dawn's light will shine again.
Oh, he sounds different.
So long as we have these specious accusations hanging over us, we will struggle to achieve anything.
It's the same voice actor, but clearly it's like, you know, a time later.
You must go to Ishgard, as Tataru proposed.
I think.
I will return to Uldar and set things right.
Pray, do not be so hasty, Master Alphino.
Lord Orchefort.
Full well do I understand your desire to clear your names. But now is not the time for drastic action. You yet have allies upon whom you can rely. There is no need to act alone.
Yes. Yes, of course. Pray forgive my impatience.
I bring tidings. Count Edmont has decreed that the three of you be taken in as wards of House Fortam. Under our patronage, you shall be granted access to the city proper. Pray, consider our manor your new headquarters, from which you may gather information and plan how best to proceed. Needless to say, should any of your missing allies be found, as I am certain they shall, they will of course be welcome to join you there.
You are more than generous, my friend. On behalf of my fellows, I humbly accept your offer of hospitality.
The Count is a good man and just. He will treat you with the kindness and respect that a hero and dear friend deserves.
To Ishgard, then. Together. There we shall carry on the Scion's legacy. There we shall begin anew.
Hear, hear!
New music! I must go on ahead and speak with the Count. Fear not, for everything has been arranged. The sentries at the gates of judgment have been informed of our decision. You need but state your names, and they'll allow you to pass. My manservant shall be waiting for you at the city gates, ready to escort you to our manor, where we shall meet again. Until then. That is such a terrible timing for that. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna have to reboot the client. Be right back. Yeah, I apologize. I don't know why it does this sometimes. What terrible timing though. I mean, we're like making our grand entrance into Ishgard and suddenly, well, back at our loading screen. Alright, let's try that again. Wards of House Fortam. Ah yes, you may pass.
And so they came, at a friend's behest. Heroes once celebrated as saviors of Eorzea, brought low through treachery, their names blackened with royal blood. With memories of the lost and dreams of redemption, with hope yet in their hearts, they came. To Ishgard, shining city on the mount, overlooking the dominion of Kurthus. A great and proud nation, devoted to Halone, the Fury, ruled by Thordan VII, Archbishop of the Ishgardian Orthodox Church. The last bastion of the faith, her walls ever bristling with the sworn swords and spears of her 4 high houses. A land that after 1,000 years of war had forgotten what it was to be at peace. Through gates long closed, the warrior of light and her companions passed, entering at last a city whose history was written in blood. In the midst of the Dragon Song War they came, 3 weary travelers whose arrival would set in motion great change. Though none knew then how great.
Greetings, Mistress Tauren. On behalf of House Forton, I bid you welcome to Ishgard. My lord humbly requests your presence at his residence in the Pillars. If you all would come with me. Been a while since we had to do attune a new crystal like this, a new aetheryte. This will be our new home. We are now a citizen of Ishgard. So you want to be a machinist? Let's just run around real quick, looking at things and getting the various aetheryte things so we can warp around. The shards. So this is the Machinist Headquarters, I guess. And I'm going to tell you right now that I intend to level and play the play this expansion as much as possible as the 3 new classes that were introduced. I mean, I'm sure I'll get bored with it eventually, but my goal is to do some machinist astrologian stuff. the merchant area. Wow, I like that. Look at this. This whole... It's got a very big cathedral vibe to it, you know? It's very grand. Oops. Sorry, didn't mean to upskirt. My sorry, yeah. So what's that one? That one is Dark Spectacle. That's probably Dark Knight. And then this is... What's your sign? I'm assuming that's Astrologian. I like this music. Oh, is there no way to get into that? Okay. I really do like this. I mean, it's like a quiet version of the old Ishgard, not the old Ishgard music, the old the music we hear at Camp Dragonhead and all those. I don't want to go down. I want to go to this crystal right here. How do we get there? It's like a soft version. That's a quest. That's where we proceed with our quest, which I don't intend to do at the moment. Ooh, I don't know if they'd let me jump. I don't recognize this theme at all. It's different. I mean, you know, it's obviously in the same style, and it's a variant, but it's not. No, never mind. It's all rubble. What are you wearing? Or rather, what are you not wearing? You must be freezing. There we go. All the internet shards in Ishgard. The gates of judgment are now accessible. Alright. Well, I think I'm going to stop here. And tomorrow, I think we're going to disappoint people by not proceeding with Ishgard storyline. I think that we're going to start maybe both an Astrologian, a Dark Knight, or maybe a machinist, right? It's like an engineer or something. Machinist? I don't know. And then we're gonna dungeon grind with them for a bit. Because they need to get up to 50 real quick. So thank you, everyone, for watching. And don't worry too much about our friends. Just go ahead and watch the, you know, the cinematics for the later expansions, and you'll feel reassured. Thank you for watching. Till next time.